I'm Debbie.
And I'm Jan.
And today on Villages 365, we would like to share with you how we get some of the news and information in the area that is basically specific to our local area.
And there's a lot of news to be had.
There is.
All right.
So one of the first ways that we get our news is through the Daily Sun. So we get the paper delivered every day. You can also purchase these on the squares. They have them at the grocery stores and things like that. So the Daily Sun is actually owned by the developer. So that's important to know. So you understand that your news is coming from the same people that have started the Villages.
Right. And a lot of it's good news.
A lot of it's good news, and that's one of the things I like about living here is that
Yes.
they tend to not.
Focus on the bad.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So it doesn't get you down first thing in the morning by reading all the bad things that are going on in the world. So
Exactly. So they have several sections. So the first part is about some of local news. So there are things that you might want to know about, like Sumter County today. They were talking about different things with the infrastructure and things like that. So there is some stuff in here that you might want to be interested in. And then when I get to the national news, I just throw that part of the paper out because I don't need to hear about it.
we live in a bubble. We don't need to know what's going on in the world.
Exactly. Arts and culture, this is in some days of the paper.
Wednesdays,
On
yeah.
Wednesdays.
Like Fridays they do like cars, and they're the different days they'll stick a different section in this
Yeah.
area.
Thursdays, rec news, things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So that is a little bit about that. The sports is always fun to watch, and actually currently what's going on today is the National Bowlers are here.
Yes,
The-
yeah.
What is it, the PBA?
I think so. I don't know what it's called.
Professional Bowlers.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're here in the Villages
Yeah,
doing their
PBA,
thing.
yeah.
And so that's kind of cool. But also in the sports section, you'll find things on the Villages High School and things like that. So, and about some of our local athletes.
And every Thursday, I think they put in people that have gotten either a hole-in-one or an eagle.
Yeah.
And so then you get your name printed in the paper.
And the records, if you shoot your age.
Yeah,
So
shoot
all you
your
do
age.
is when you go to the golf course, if you get one of those things, you go in and you let them know in the clubhouse, and then they even send you a little certificate.
They do, yeah.
And your name shows up in the paper, and you're a celebrity. It's so
For a
cool.
day.
For a day. One of the things that I like is the local news. So this always talks about different things locally here, specific to the Villages. And so I always find that part interesting.
And there's a lot of ads too,
Yeah.
for doctors and golf carts and bicycles and
Yeah,
whatever.
and if you're looking like to do anything to your home, like put a new roof on or get your plumbing done or
Landscaping.
something like that, yeah, they've got a lot of information. And then in the lifestyle section, this is my favorite section, which is more about the fun. So they talk about different events and activities. Right now we just had senior games, so that's showing in there. And
And they also, on that front page, they have a new recipe every day, which
Yep.
is, and I have tried some of them, and they're pretty stellar.
they are good. And then they also talk about, like, we've got a BJ's wholesale club opening soon, and they have these little poets corners, but they have my favorite things, Sudoku and crossword puzzles.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the funnies, because that's my favorite thing.
Okay, so we see there's something for everybody here in the paper. And then they don't have it in today's, but usually they have a big section about who's playing, which bands are playing at the squares. They also do have it on the front here, so that's how you can find out which band is playing at the square, if that your favorite band is playing at the square.
Was it in locals news?
It might be. Maybe it's in the local section.
And they also send out at like the end of every month the whole schedule of the bands. But I know it's in here somewhere, so we'll find it later.
But anyway, so those are always helpful. You get your classifieds. Of course, Villages selling their homes. So you have all that. And then they do these also where they give you information about different flowers that are native to our area and that might attract butterflies and different birds and things
Right.
like that. So they've got a lot of light and fun information. They have the serious stuff too, so I guess it depends on what part you want to read, but
Right, right. And then, drink your coffee and read the news.
exactly.
So another way is with the Villages app, and you can download that from obviously the App Store, and it has what's new in the community, at the touch of your fingers, destinations, homes and villas. You can also, along with the newspaper that had, homes and villas you can look at them there, what's going on in the community over the calendar. And an interesting thing is the videos. They have cameras at the squares, so you can, you're going to meet your friends, you can say, we're on our way, where are you? And then you can bring this up with the video, and they can be standing in front of the camera waving at you, so you can see each other later, or you can see how many people are there.
Yeah.
Or is it too crowded? I don't want to go. So it's kind of fun to take a peek on what's going on in each square. We don't use it very often, but it is kind of cute. And then you can also listen to the Villages radio through this, and it gives you, your temperature.
Yep.
Right on the spot.
And speaking of the Villages radio station, so they do have a radio station in downtown Lake Sumter, so you can actually watch them as they broadcast live. A lot of people think that's really cool. But there's 2 radio stations, so apparently they don't have a really strong band, but you can find them on 102.7 or 104.5. Or on your app. And
Comcast has it, right?
I don't
Can you
know
get
if
the radio, or is that the station? We'll
That's
get
the
to that
station.
later.
Yeah,
Sorry, I
but-
jumped the gun.
Yeah, no, I don't think, but the radios, that's the 2 radio stations that they have.
Okay. Yeah.
And they do a good job of playing, music for this era.
All generations.
And-
When we first came here, it was all 50s doo-wop, and now as each generation has
Ages out a little
retired, now it's a nice mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they talk about homes for sale, and they do talk about the weather and everything, and they're right down in Lake Sumter Landing,
Yep.
so they're pretty familiar as to what's going on there. So we're also going to show you then the cable news channel they have, and some other ways that we get our news and find out what's happening in the villages.
Out swimming on a regular basis. Then she moved to the Villages and quickly found her way back into a pool. The Village of Collier resident is now one of 2 leaders of a swim fit class that meets from 3 to 4 p.m. Monday and Thursday at Colony Cottage Regional Recreation Complex Sports Pool. The class consists of 10 minutes of swimming, 15 minutes of drilling and practicing strokes, then they swim laps. And just last week, Deb won 2 medals in the
So one of the ways that you can get your news here is a website that is villages-news.com. They tend to be a bit negative. So if you want all the uglies about the villages, that's one place to look.
Yep, go there and then read the comments.
Yeah, and then it gets even nastier. We're pretty sure most of the comments come from people that are not in the villages.
They're from the villages, or they're native Floridians that really don't like what's happened to their Florida.
Yeah, yeah. But the articles there are sometimes informative. Like, they are good about letting you know different meetings that are happening, different, with the county or the city. The Villages was trying to put in some apartments over Spanish Springs in some areas, and so they've been very informative about the town hall meetings and things
Where
like
Katie
that.
Bells was.
Where Katie Bells was.
Yeah.
And so they're good about keeping you informed with that type of thing.
Yep. And editorials, a lot of people write into the editor on that. You don't really see that so much in the paper, but then the comments on that poor person that's decided to put their name down
gets brutal.
Yeah. Don't do it early in the morning. It just kind of sets your tone.
But they also, that's the one, if you saw one of our dislikes videos, we explained that you may show up in the newspaper if you drink and drive, and that is the place that your pretty little mugshot will show up, because they have no qualms about putting somebody's face, name, address,
And how much they paid.
how much they paid, and what year they bought. So that all ends
and the
up in there.
picture is never good. I don't know
No.
who the photographer is, but they're bad pictures. And then people comment on the picture, so not that that's
you think
important.
the police department should make them smile more when they do their
I don't know, but maybe they feel remorse, and that's where that face comes from. I don't know, or it's shock, like did the bulb just go off, or I don't know. It's that's a good place to see a different side.
Yeah, exactly. So they usually put maybe, what would you say, 5 to 6 stories out a day. It's not huge, so it's just something like, for me in the mornings, I scroll through just to see if there's anything interesting that I feel I need to know. For me personally, I don't click on all the comments and stuff, because it does just, it makes me, when you don't have to put your name.
You can say anything.
Yeah, so for me, that's kind of where I'm at.
And then they make it political. It might be someone broke their leg, and then somebody says, "Oh, they must have been a Republican," or "Oh, they were a Democrat," and you're just like,
Or they deserved it because they were a Republican or a Democrat.
That had nothing to do with the article,
No.
so I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah. So, but that's another place to get your news. Another place you might look is on Facebook. So if you're a Facebook person, the Villages has a couple different websites, and they actually have a lot of groups down here, like, what was that, Lost Pets of the Villages. And so there's a million groups that you can get involved in. But if you actually, but if you actually want to learn some news, like straight from the Villages, if there's things that you feel you'd like to know.
And the Daily Sun they're on Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook, but
so those are two of the ones that the Daily Sun. So they don't do a ton of their articles on there, but they do. Usually, it's kind of like the cover page. They kind of put whoever's on the cover of the newspaper that day. They put that in there along with the little blurb, and then the Villages Golf and Tennis has a Facebook page, and that's informative as far as like if you want to know when golf club fittings are, if you want to know when tournaments are, if you want to know when the tennis club sometimes has different events as well. So if you want to know any of that kind of information, that would be a good resource for you.
And again, then they put the people that shot their age, got an eagle or a hole-in-one that week. So that's another place to look.
So you can be famous twice.
You can.
So perfect. Another website to visit then would be thevillages.com. Okay, and thevillages.com is their public website that they use to attract people to the Villages.
Yep.
They have on that site a lot of information about what's going on down south now in the new construction and their progress on bridges and neighborhoods and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and houses for sale, and what else they have on? Because I don't get on that one.
That one, it's mostly, and we've showed you the little video there to give you an idea of what's on there. Some of the activities, they also show which bands are playing that night. So if you can't find it in the paper, like we couldn't find it earlier.
Right. And if you don't take the paper, it's a good thing to have.
Yeah. So it always does tell the bands and everything. And then there is a website, thevillages.net. Now that's a totally different website. You have to pay to be a subscriber for that particular website.
$8 a month.
Yes, not terrible, but it does have a lot of information with more about the recreation department. So instead of so much the Villages, so just so you understand, the Villages owns the championship courses and they own what they own. But the rest of the area is owned by the residents. So we all have community development districts and we own the rest of it. So when people say the cart path isn't up to snuff, the developer ought to get on it. It's not the developer. It's your community. So the villages.net has more things about your community news. It's also, we've mentioned in our golf video, I think it was the Glenview golf video, we had talked about scheduling a tee time. So that's where you would schedule your tee time online. So if you don't want to call on the phone and
which is a nightmare.
Do the 10-minute process.
And you can also look for unused tee times 2 days in advance. And then you can see what's available, and you can, instead of doing it ahead of time and see what you get, then you can go in and get what you get. But sometimes during the busy season, there's nothing there because it's full. So,
but that's another great place to get some local news. Also, at each of the rec centers, they have a little board. I don't know what you call it. It would be like a little
bulletin board.
Little bulletin board, yeah. And so there you can find what activities they have scheduled. So it will say like Tuesday from 9 to 11. It's Sally's tennis group, and from 11 to 1, it's Bob's 4-5 tennis group, and it'll have that about the different activities that they have. So if there's a group that has already reserved that the court or bocce thing or shuffleboard thing or whatever, that will be on their bulletin board, so then you can find out if that's available for open play at the time.
Or on the inside, then there's rooms that are used for mahjong or pitch or Monopoly. I don't think I've ever seen Monopoly, but I might start a Monopoly crowd because I hate that. Monopoly,
But so that's an easy way to find out if you're at the rec center and you would like to use the tennis courts and you notice they're always full, or the pickleball courts or whatever, it'll show if there's certain groups that have reserved it. If they're not, then they are open, and then you've just got to wait till they clear for you to be able to play.
Right, and if another group is coming in for an hour, you might get that because it was available for an hour, but that next group is gonna come in at 4 and say, we have this reserved. People are very nice, and then you just say, okay.
And you have to go. So, and that ties into also, there's in the newspaper on Thursdays, there's a packet basically that's called the Rec News. And the Rec News lists every single recreation center in the Villages, and it's indoor activities and it's outdoor activities by the hour. So if you decide that you would like to quilt, and you like to do it with a group of ladies or gentlemen, you can go on the Rec News and you can look through there and find out where they do the quilting, and then find out what time it is open at that rec center. Again, you'll find out if there are open groups, like if it was Mahjong or whatever, if it's Sally's Mahjong group has this room from 9 to 11, then that's not an open group necessarily. Mm-hmm. But it will say open, open Mahjong, so that means anybody could come and between 11 and 1 or whatever. The Rec News is a great resource, and that comes out in the paper every Thursdays.
And it's thick.
And it is, but you can also get it online. So at that Villagesnet that I mentioned website, that if you click, there is a link there that says the Rec News, and you can flip through, and it's actually, you flip it just like you would, well, you do it on the tablet, I guess you could do it on your computer, but anyway, you flip it on the tablet just like you would a regular newspaper. So it's kind of cool.
Right.
So other than that, everybody's pretty open and helpful here. So if you would like to join a group of some sort, reach out to a rec center.
Yeah,
and
or you
ask
can
them.
Start a group.
Yeah, or start a group yourself.
If you it is in the paper, I think every day. If you want to start a group, there's you have to register, I think, and there's some steps to be able to start a group, and I mean you name it, and there's a group.
Yeah.
There's a club for it. I mean it's amazing.
So.
Chicken laying egg group. No,
Yeah.
I just made that one
Anything.
up. But that's how vast it is.
Yeah,
So.
it's pretty much anything you could think of. There's probably a club for that, but that is how we get most of our news in the Villages. People share a lot of information too here. So, but I would say there are a lot, as we've talked about, a lot of rumors, and a lot of fake news. So before you start spreading it, I'd always try and find out if it's true or not.
Yeah. And your neighbors, if you're new, your neighbors are a vast wealth of information because once you've been here new, you know all the tricks, you know kind of where to go and how to start out, and another app that you can get is they have an app for the trails on your phone, like Siri, and
That's on. I think that's on the Villages.
Is that on the Villages app?
Yeah, on the Villages app that we talked about earlier. Yeah.
all right. Well, and that's very helpful when you're new because you will get lost.
Yeah, because if you do use like maps or something like that, it's going to keep you on the roads, and the golf carts can't go on all of the roads. So you want to make sure you're using the correct.
Right. Yeah. And
Paths.
you will get lost, but
Yeah.
people are very helpful. Very helpful.
Just stop and look like this.
Look confused, and
and-
somebody will say, "Are you lost?"
Yeah.
And you'll just say, "Yes, I am." And then
And they'll
a
help
lot
you.
of times they'll just take you to where you want to go.
Yep, we've done that a bunch of
Yeah.
times. So, and then the other thing that I was thinking is, and to me this is very true, is that there's so many statements that people make in the Villages. I call them the Villages lines. If you don't like it, move. There's all these different things. So one of the things that I've also heard is, if you're bored in the Villages, it's your fault. I have to say I kind of agree with that
Yes.
because there are so many things to do here that if you are bored, you just need to get out your house.
Yeah, well, on some days it's like a job. You're going like, how did I have a job when I have all
Yeah.
these things? And you can get over busy here.
Yep.
You really can. And then you can take some days off. It doesn't matter. It's your schedule.
Your schedule. Yep.
And on a rainy day, sometimes a rainy day, they're not very often. It's kind of nice. You take a nap.
Get a down day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You binge watch something or clean out your closet. I don't know, but when it's weather like this beautiful weather, it's really hard not to go outside.
Yeah. Yep. And so, But anyway, it's a great place, or we find it to be a great place to live. Lots of things to do, but hopefully these will give you some ideas as to how to get your information, like where do I find about this club or that club, or how do I get involved in this or that. These are a lot of really great resources.
And if you're
so,
thinking about buying, you can like look at all this stuff first
yeah,
and kind of see what it's about, because they don't do the commercials anymore.
nope,
And 'cause they don't have to, it's word of mouth. So we have friends that have come down here, you have friends that have come down here. When they come to visit, sometimes they buy that day.
they
you know?
drink the Kool-Aid. That's
They do.
another thing
Yeah.
that's said down here all the
Yeah,
time. You drink the
drink the
Kool-Aid,
Kool-Aid.
because so many people come down and they buy a house in they're here for 3 days and they said, we decided we loved it, 3 hours. See, there you
So,
go. There
We
you go.
definitely drank the Kool-Aid.
So, all right, well, thanks for joining us again.
Yep.
And hope you do come down and visit us down here in the Villages, and hope this video was helpful to you. Have a great day.